keep pushing buttons.
Buttons are being pushed.
Uh-oh. Hmm. Are we live?
We should be, yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. We had a little technical difficulty getting going here. We'll edit that out. Don't worry. It'll all look good tomorrow. But the one thing I can't make look good tomorrow is my first guest. Is he's just such a handsome man that there's no improvement necessary. I want to welcome to the show, excuse me for spitting. I want to welcome to the show my very good friend, Mr. Steve Lauten with Total Air and Heat. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Alex. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing fantastic.
As far as that improvement side of things, my wife has a lot of suggestions for me.
For you to give to me? Or
No. As far as my
she
appearance.
thinks you need improvement. I
Yes,
thought maybe she was thinking
absolutely.
I needed improvement. I know that's not right.
No, you're perfect.
Yeah. Steve and his son, Justin, run Total Air and Heat in Richardson, and they have been in business a long time, but I thought Steve might want to spend a minute or two and give us sort of a brief history of Total Air and Heat.
Sure, Alex. My dad started the company in 1957. It was back when air conditioning was just starting to be used in homes, and we lived in a subdivision in Oak Cliff that had central heat but no central air. So we put it in our house. The neighbors saw him doing it, and they said, we want that too. And there you go.
The rest is history.
Instant air conditioning
Yeah.
company.
How many employees do you have?
We've got about 45. We serve North Dallas and Collin County areas, and we're really enjoying interacting with people and getting back to normal out there. And we're still all masked up and sanitizing, but
Well, that's an improvement for an AC guy anyway.
yes, sir.
That's helpful all the way around.
Thank you.
But your guy, you have always been what I consider a really high-end company. I mean, you deal in high-end product. You have well-trained employees, well-trained technicians, and you've kind of stayed with all of the, improvements in the technologies as I've grown. Because Steve and I have been talking about this for 20 years now, and we've watched this entire not only the air conditioning business but the construction business just morph into this whole thing that it's so different than it was back when we started when we were little fellers. Yeah. So wanted to talk about the first thing on my list today, of course, is the way that the big freeze in February. I keep running into this in everything I'm doing now. We're still having a lot of effects from the big freeze in February, and that's where we, for 4 or 5 days, were below 20 degrees, I think, or
Well below it.
well near zero.
Yes.
And our AC and heating systems and our plumbing, our houses are not designed in this part of the country to accommodate that type of weather. We just have a warmer climate. We don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, based on historical numbers, we designed systems to be able to maintain indoor temperature based on it being 20 degrees outside. And even if it drops below 20, maybe down to 10, it's only for a few hours in most cases. But this big freeze that Alex is talking about has taken us to places we've never been before. We stayed below 10 for multiple days in a row, and
It was
it
nasty.
changed everything. The houses simply weren't designed for it, especially the insulation.
How did, and obviously there was a period of time when a lot of people didn't have electricity. So we'll just take that one off the plate because that doesn't matter. But how did this affect your AC clients? Because you have two kinds. You have a gas heat. I say AC, I should say heat. You have gas, and then you have electric.
Right.
Tell us what happened.
Well, setting aside the power failures, because none of these heating systems are going to work if you don't have power.
Right.
And that's where a lot of the challenges came, is the rolling blackouts, where people would have power off for a couple of hours or more, and then they come back on for a couple of hours. So the heat was just playing catch up the entire time, just trying to get it to set point in the home. Most houses stayed in the low 60s if they were lucky, indoors, which is livable. But what it did is, if you didn't have all your cabinet doors open to the outside walls where there was plumbing, and of course attics got way below freezing, and there was lots and lots of
Water heaters.
water heaters and just plumbing pipes in
Yeah,
general
yeah.
that burst. My house included. We never lost power, but I do have some pipes that run through the attic, and they burst in 3 places and flooded the house.
So what if you had heat pumps? How did they hold up?
Heat pumps held up pretty good. In some cases, depending on how well they were sized, you might have turned it from regular heat pump mode to emergency heat, which would have been just running the auxiliary heat strips on the system. And where we got the most calls were on heat pump systems where either two things were going on. One is there was a problem with the defrost cycle, where the unit outdoors was not de-icing itself, where people thought their unit was on fire because of all the steam coming out of it while it was defrosting. And number two would have been they had backup heat strips that maybe one of the elements was out, and so it could no longer maintain temperature in their home.
Well, not to mention that strange noise they kept hearing with the heat strip, which sounded kind of like a cash register. Ching, ching,
Well, yeah, I mean,
ching.
utility bills in general were just out of control, even those with plans that didn't allow for going up much on regulated energy prices. They still went up. And so, yeah, we saw people's utility bills triple, quadruple.
Well, of course,
just
when you're
depending
running
on
a
the-
heat strip, you're just running straight electricity into
Yeah.
2 wires
Yeah.
and getting them hot.
You get $1 worth of heat for every dollar in
Right.
electricity, versus with a heat pump system, you get typically $2.50 to $3 of heat for every
Explain real
dollar of
quick.
electricity.
Explain to our audience real quick what a heat pump is, because that is something that I had heat pumps, so I didn't really know how they operated. I just knew that when it came on, when it was cold, I didn't feel much warm air, and I didn't understand why that was.
There's a couple of reasons for that, Alex. First of all, with heat pumps, basically all we've done is reverse the cycle of the system. Well, now the coil on your indoor system is the condensing coil, and the coil on the outdoor unit is now the evaporator coil. So in summertime, if you put your hand above your air conditioner, it's blowing out hotter than what the outdoor temperature is. In wintertime, it's going to be blowing out colder than what the outdoor temperature is, and that's why it has to go into a defrost cycle. But in general, the temperature of the air with a heat pump system, unless you have a variable speed blower, is going to be 10 to 20 degrees cooler than a gas heat system is. So instead of around 120 to 130 degree leaving air temperature on a gas heat system, it's going to be more like about 110 to 100. And so if the duct system's not designed right, then it's blowing on you. And in particular, women seem to be very sensitive to 110 degree air coming out of the vent blowing on them. That's about maybe 95 degrees by the time it makes it to them.
I just want to take a little exception to that statement and just let you know that men have this little cold spot right up here.
Yeah,
If they don't have hair.
no
and
hair zone,
The
yeah.
no hair zone.
Yeah.
And so we need to address that. It could be a very small, I don't care. Y'all need to do something about that because I had this cold head for about
We got a
4
wig
days.
for you, Alex, and,
Wig.
yeah.
I was
That or
wearing
a beanie.
I was wearing my wig. It
Oh.
didn't do any.
Well, you'd need to have an insulated wig then. But
Well,
you're right. I mean,
basically,
it is a comfort issue.
If I understand this right, then a heat pump is removing cold air, or is it? It's removing
yeah.
cold air as where an air conditioner removes hot air. So it's reversing what an air
It
conditioner
reverses
does.
this cycle.
So-
It's kind of like taking a window unit out of the window and then turning the outdoor part and putting that
Flipping it
indoors.
around,
Yeah,
yeah,
turning it
yeah,
around,
yeah.
and the cold part blows outdoors. That's a way to make it easy.
So the bottom line is, if you have a heat pump, you're not going to feel this warm, hot air hitting your skin, or you shouldn't really. It's designed to remove the cold air where it just makes a change in the ambient temperature and to keep you comfortable. And so it's not like you're sitting in front of a fireplace or you have a gas heater that's actually blowing hot air in. And so that's probably why you were really getting concerned, because I know the feeling. I've had it in a big house, and I would, it would make me nuts.
However, heat pumps are more energy efficient
Right.
than gas furnaces are.
Well, there's a lot of places you can't get gas.
That's
still.
right. Almost all rural areas, if you live around the lake or anywhere rural, they may not have gas lines running to your subdivision.
So let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about what we're changing seasons right now.
Yes, sir.
We think we're changing seasons.
Well, we're trying to, but maybe not today.
Mother Nature she's really messing with us right now. It's snowing in places right now that it shouldn't be snowing in. But
Well, we set a record low temperature
Yeah,
in Texas
so
today.
this show is being broadcast in late April, and normally we're around 80 degrees right now, and today I think we'll be 65 or something like
We're running
that.
20 to 25
Yeah,
degrees
yeah.
lower than normal.
So when I say seasons are changing, and you need to do a few things for your air conditioning system, believe me, it is going to happen. It just seems like it happens for a week and then it changes to another season. What should people be doing right now to get ready for really what's probably going to happen is all of a sudden we're going to wake up and it's 90 degrees every day and hot. I mean, just like
It's going to
overnight.
happen exactly that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
It's the way it almost always happens. And it's sometime in May that it does that. You want to have your air conditioning system ready for summer. You don't want to wait till July and go, I'm not comfortable anymore, to get your system serviced. Do a cooling tune-up now while you can and while we're not just covered up, because when it's June, July, August,
The line gets long.
it gets a lot longer, and now we're fixing breakdowns, and you want to avoid that. So whomever you use to service your air conditioning and heating system, get a summer or a cooling tune-up done now so it's ready for action when it starts.
How much does an air conditioning condenser and a system, how hard does it operate when it's hot outside? Typically in Texas.
Well, Alex, when it's the hottest out, the system's running at max capacity. And given most seasons in a year in Texas, air conditioning and heating system runs enough hours to be equivalent to a car that travels about 75,000 miles. And I don't think any of y'all would go 75,000 miles without an oil change. You shouldn't run your system without seasonal maintenance either. It's imperative that the coils, indoor and outdoors, be clean, because all we're doing is moving the heat that's in your home to outdoors, or in the wintertime, we're moving the cold in your house to outdoors, and it happens through those cooling coils. Filter changes are imperative. If you got the 1-inch throwaway filters, change them monthly, if at all possible. The thicker ones, let's say the 4 to 6 inch ones, typically are good for 4 to 6 months. 6 months is typically about the extreme I'd go to. I'd change them twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you have washable filters, you also want to clean those monthly.
So there are lots of little independent repair guys going around town. I know that they're knocking on my door every day. Somebody's knocking and leaving a card with a rubber band on it, hanging on the handle or
Yeah,
whatever.
You're living in Texas,
And-
yes.
Right. And so they're all trying to generate business, and a lot of them aren't necessarily licensed, or you don't know if they are. And
That's
so,
true.
how do you filter through that group of people till you come up? What do you need to ask? What does a homeowner need to ask somebody? What's a key question to make sure that you're getting not only the right person, but someone that's not going to cause more harm than good in your system?
Well, the first thing I'd ask for is show me your air conditioning license. All license holders, typically that's the owner of the company, has to carry a license on them issued by the state of Texas. Also, if you're doing a lot of work in your home, I'd ask them for a copy of their current certificate of insurance. You know, the standards in Texas is such that you can certainly get a lot more damage on a home if there's an accident than what the minimum insurance requirements are. We carry, $1 million policy with $2 million extra in umbrella insurance. For our contracting company size, the requirement is only about $300,000. Well, try and find a $300,000 house these days.
Yeah,
you know?
right. That's a starter home.
They've gone out of control on price.
It's still under warranty.
Yeah. So ask for a copy of the insurance and a copy of their license. They should give that to you without any problem.
Okay, so home warranty companies. So a lot of people will call a home warranty. I have heard some real nightmare scenarios about it's really some of the workmen that will go out and try to solicit business directly from the homeowners that are working for the home warranty company. I've heard 2 or 3 stories over the years where, the workman told me that they came out and they didn't fix it, and they said they'd be back, and they weren't. I'm not trying to trash home warranty companies. They've got it's a great service that a lot of people depend on when they buy a house and they need them. Do you find that maybe if there's certain things wrong, like maybe in your mechanical system, you might want to get the home warranty company, maybe have a backup plan to have someone like you come out and at least do an examination of the problem, so you're not getting.
Yep. I couldn't agree with you more on
Was
that
that
one,
politically
Alex.
correct? In that?
Yeah.
That's
I
smooth.
mean, everybody has a right to a second opinion, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
bet. When it comes to home purchases, it's very common that you buy a home. Let's say the house is 20, 30 years old. In many instances, the air conditioning system is at least 10 years old. It may be the same age as the home. And from my perspective, if it's over 15 years old, I would question as to the long-term serviceability of that system. We've had refrigerant changes in the last 15 years. And so if it's an older system using refrigerant 22, you really don't want that system in there. That's where you get a contractor that you trust to come look at that system and just give a second opinion about its actual condition. With home warranties, it only has to run and meet minimum requirements. And that's not necessarily on a hot day or a cold day for it to pass inspection. Home warranties, the thing that I dislike about them the most is I could come out to your house and find that the system's a little bit low on refrigerant. And so the home warranty company's solution is to add refrigerant.
Instead of saying, why is it low on refrigerant?
Instead of leak searching the system and finding the leak.
Right.
Because then that could run into thousands of dollars.
Right.
I could be there today and replace a bad contactor, but also know that you have a fan motor that's going out or a capacitor this week. Again, under home warranty requirements, I don't talk about those things.
I see. And so you're not getting a thorough story of how your system's going typically.
Well, it's not something I'm willing to risk my reputation on. My guys are trained to look at the whole system and simply advise the customer of what's going on. You let the customer make their choices as to what they want done. And in many instances, we go out there and run a service call, and then the customer calls our home warranty company up for the repair.
Yeah, right. Sure.
It's okay with us if you do that.
Makes them feel better.
Absolutely.
One other thing that comes up a lot in repairing your air conditioner is when you have one part of it go out. The compressor may go out, or you may have a problem with the air delivery system in your attic. And sometimes you'll have a HVAC person come out and say, well, we have to replace it. And sometimes you can't blend things and have them work the way, optimal solution.
Very true, Alex.
How would I know that, or what would I ask somebody if I'm a homeowner and I have to replace just part of it? How do I what should I say to this person? Well, are you doing this to make sure my system isn't going to have problems from what you're doing?
Sure. Cooling coils, which is on the indoor part of your system, frequently is where the problem is. At least when it comes to refrigerant leaks, more times than not, it's on that indoor coil. Well, you got an R22 system. We've got to put a coil that's compatible
So
with
R22 was the Freon.
It's
brand.
what they used to
They
call
call
Freon. Yes.
Okay, and they don't use that now.
Federal government, EPA, Department of Energy phased that refrigerant out 10 plus years ago.
Right, and what's the new stuff called?
It's called R410A.
So we're just going by the R410. We don't have a brand name for it now.
Well, Carrier's got their name for
Everybody's
it.
got
That's
got
a
their own.
trademark.
Okay.
Actually, the word Freon was a trademark
Right.
of DuPont.
Right. But
So-
that's what we called it. So,
Sure, it's kind of like Kleenex.
So it was R22. The new is R41,
R410A.
R410A. I was seeing the numbers.
Well, and the crazy thing is, Alex, it's on the phase-out list too.
Yeah, you told me that
Yeah.
about a year ago.
It's still 5 to 10 years away, but the replacement refrigerant has propane in it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We had that conversation.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. You have a little Freon leak, and you cook some hot dogs
propane,
over. Yeah. Little,
Well, when your power goes out, you can just light the refrigerant to heat your own, right? No, seriously, there'll be some safety things in place to hopefully prevent those issues.
Fire alarm
But
system.
my point is that the outdoor unit as a minimum needs to be properly matched with your indoor cooling coil.
Right.
In addition, in effective 2020, indoor blowers are now required to be what is called at least a constant torque motor. And that's a DC voltage motor. It doesn't have to be variable speed, but it still is a DC voltage motor, which is much more energy efficient than what is currently called a constant, a variable blower, in that it's a capacitor run motor instead of DC voltage.
But it's just a more efficient motor. So they're requiring a more efficient motor to run the blower.
It goes into the overall efficiency ratings of the system. So, Alex, you can't put a system in, let's say, rated for 16 SEER that is based on the constant torque motor without replacing the furnace or the air handler. It doesn't match up. And I don't recommend that you try to replace this part of your system unless you have a newer home. Let's say maybe this has been built in the last 10 years, or your system's been built in the last 10 years, where there's a chance that some of that matches up together.
Yeah.
So there's a simple solution to this. Just ask for the AHRI rating on what you're putting in. There's a certificate that every air conditioning manufacturer has to produce that rates the matchup of their systems. New construction has to go through the same thing. And what makes a new home better than a used home is they come with a 2-year warranty on everything on the house versus a used home, you've got that extended warranty that's through a third-party company.
Right, yeah. Wow, it's become very complex. It's very
Well,
complex.
just do your homework, right now, the market's so hot, there's homes that are being bought sight unseen.
Well, some of the quality of what I see and have seen for the last really 10 years is pathetic. I mean, I'm not gonna pull any punches on it. They're building crappy houses. Now, we're gonna have a builder on with us in a few minutes that builds really high-end houses. And there is a huge difference. And there's a huge, building a house in 4 months is not gonna provide you the time it takes to manage it properly, supervise it properly, and get a good quality product at the end. You just can't do it. And so, but that's a whole nother discussion Richard and I are gonna have. And I really appreciate you coming in, and I appreciate you.
Whatever I can
your
do to
great
help,
advice.
Alex.
Yeah.
I just like to give honest opinions and
Yeah.
honest answers to the listeners and let them make their choices as to what's right for them.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to talk about. We could talk about it all day, and we've done that before, and it gets us in trouble every time.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, Steve will say something. He'll say something, and I'll get emails
Yeah.
from you,
Yeah.
the people I love, that are angry, mad. We're going to take a break. We're going to be right back in a couple minutes with Richard Miller, a wonderful builder from the city of Dallas. Don't forget to follow us on all your social media, like us on Facebook, subscribe and share on YouTube, and check us out on all your social media platforms. Don't forget to watch Remodel Revolution on your smart TV, on Texas Weather Tracker TV, on Roku, Android, Apple, and Amazon TV, Sundays at 1 and 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.